Honky Tonk must-haves. These are albums that you gotta have in your collection. If you're into classic country honky tonk music, it's not a hidden gem. A hidden gem is an album that you'd probably pass over if you were looking through a bin of records. You wouldn't think much of it. That's why it's a hidden gem. But there are some records that when you see them, can you resist the temptation to pick up a record like this? Do you know who Hank Wilson is? I know a lot of you do. Are you even familiar with Volume 2? Check out the back cover. This is a serious must-have album, in my opinion. I mean, that's a photo right there. So, Leon Russell got this idea in the 70s. He wanted to make a country album. Of course, Leon Russell has always been a fan of country music, and he's always flirted with country music and had friends inside the country music circle. And in the 1970s, he decided to put out a record. Actually, this is the one that he put out first. This is the one that most people have heard. It just says Hank on the front of it. It's also a great album cover, too. So if you see this record, you're probably going to stop and look at it for a minute. On the back, it's a picture of him and Billy Bird. So this record was just a killer album when it came out. I mean, he's playing country music better than a lot of country artists were playing it in the 70s. And it's just all like real upbeat kind of bangers, like honky tonk classics. Rollin' in My Sweet Baby's Arm, an up-tempo version of She Thinks I Still Care, Jambalaya, Six Pack to Go. So I think you know this album. On steel we got Pete Drake is playing steel, as well as Weldon Myrick. And who's the other one? I think it's, Hal Rugg is the other one that's playing steel on this. Curly Chalker as well. I'm seeing 4 names back on here on steel. I wouldn't be surprised if Lloyd Green's on it somewhere too. But it's a classic album. It's just a killer production, on and on. But today we're talking about this one right here, Volume 2. So what happened in Volume 2? This is a little less well known of a record, this one. Sometimes it just takes an outsider to come into the circle of country music and give it a well-needed shot in the arm, like a dose of their own medicine, if you will. And this album came out in 1981. I mean, not a lot of good country records were coming out in 1981. George Jones had a big album that year, but aside from that, this is probably a better record than that George Jones one. I mean, if we're talking front to back. And so he picks up right where he left off in Volume 1. We got Wabash, Cannonball, more real upbeat stuff, Oh Lonesome Me, Tennessee Waltz. Now on this particular album, he didn't list the credits like he did in Volume 1. Volume 1's great. He's got like the session logs written out for every song. It's very cohesive. On this one, he just put a special thanks to at the bottom, and he's got this massive list of names here, most of them legends. There's 2 steel players that he thanks officially in the thanks, Curly Chalker and Pete Drake. And some of this stuff sounds too fast to be Pete Drake, so save yourself the trouble. Don't Google it and try to find out the answer. Many people have, and there's no information. So I'm going to play you a little bit of Heartaches by the Number, and if you really know your steel guitar, can you tell me who this is that's playing this beautiful lick on the intro here? Is it Pete Drake or is it Curly Chalker?
Heartache number 1 was when you left me. I never knew that I could hurt this way. And heartache number 2 is when you came back again. You came back, never meant to stay. Now I've got heartaches by the number, troubles by the score. Every day you love me less, each day I love you more. Yes, I've got heartaches by the number, a love that I can't win. But the day that I stop counting, that's the day my world will end.
No one was making country music like that in 1981. I mean, if they were, you got to tell me who it was. So that's steel playing. I mean, it sounds like it might be on the back neck. Maybe it's Curly Chalker doing it. I can't really say for sure. I wouldn't be the guy to ask on that. On side B, he's doing I'm Moving On, the Hank Snow classic. Waltz Across Texas. Don't Let the Stars Get in Your Eyes, On the Wings of a Dove. I'll Be There. I'll Be There is a really good one. I Saw the Light. This copy that I have here of this record came out on Paradise Records. This is an original pressing. This is an original US pressing. I got this on eBay about a year ago. And the disc looks like this. My copy. And it's just sonically, the production, everything's right there. The album had some different album covers. Not all of them look this good. The CD is the same kind of cover, but in white. And originally, when this album came out, he was just selling it off the stage in a totally different jacket. It's a white jacket, and I'll show you a picture of it now. Yeah, that's just a picture of him there with a microphone in front of his face. And I mean, that particular sleeve, it does kind of look like something that you just pass over if you saw it in a bin somewhere. So not the greatest album cover for Hank Wilson, I don't think, but they finally got it sorted out. And then this version of the record was reissued in like 2015. It was reissued on a label called, I'm forgetting the name of it now, but I'll write it on the screen. And it was just 1,500 copies that were made of it. And you know, copies of that are still available on eBay. So if you like this album, I mean, you might consider going and getting a copy of that reissue. It's on red vinyl. He told this story about how he was driving back and forth between Tulsa and Nashville and listening to all these country tapes. He would stop at flea markets and just buy as many country tapes as he could find and just listen to them nonstop. Like he just went on a total country music trip. A trip in the country, as Roger Miller would say. And then he ended up producing these albums. And he's going to be a legend for most people. Just came into the world of country and just knocked it out of the park. Many people outside of country have tried to make a country record. I made a whole video about it. There should be a link right up here. I put 10 of the better ones in that link on that video. But this is the best I've ever heard it done right here. Even better than Ray Charles, better than Ween, better than Elvis Costello, everybody, basically. If you're wondering about the production, this album is different from the first one in that they recorded this one on the West Coast. I think it was done in California, maybe at Leon Russell's studio there. And I guess they must have had people flying in to play on it, and probably some West Coast musicians played on it as well. He thanks Lefty Frizzell, Ernest Tubb, Harold Bradley in the notes, Sammy Bush, John Cowan. I mean, 1981, John Cowan must have been young then. Hank Snow, Ray Charles. I don't know why he thanked them all. I don't know what they had to do with the record. And no one knows for sure, except for Leon and someone out there. If I'm comparing part one and part two here, the one's not really better than the other. Maybe this one a little bit just for the nostalgia's sake of it. But the production on volume 2 is nothing wrong with the production. It's great, even though it's the 80s. Now there's a third version he made here. This is volume 3. Now for me, there's nothing on here that I like on this one. And I was actually ready to come on here and tell you to just skip this one altogether. But then in preparing for the video, I found out that apparently people like this one. It's called Legend in My Time. This is a very rare CD. It's very hard to find. And if you want this copy, you can have it. Let me know. But yeah, he's continuing on with the theme, 16 tons, Act Naturally. But for me, the production is a no-go on here. Sonny Garish is doing the steel. And then he had a fourth one that came out, a bluegrass one. And I think the bluegrass one's pretty good. I don't have a copy of it yet. That's episode 3. This is a digital deal. It was only made on CD, so there's no record for that one. Volume 1, I know you have already, but Volume 2, don't sleep on Volume 2. Boy, it's a killer. We're going to keep it country. We're going to keep on coming back with more steel guitar, more honky tonk music, and more hidden gems and must-have records. Take care, keep it country, and we'll see you next time.